Hey, what's up? It's Alex. Beijing, Qingdao, Xiaogang. Why do these three cities have English names that are totally different from their Chinese names? Let's take a look. The spelling P-E-K-I-N-G for Beijing is actually really old, and it tells an interesting story about the history of Chinese. It's actually from a time before Beijinghua was the standard that foreigners would learn. Before the 1850s, the standard that foreigners learned was called Guanhua, and it was based kind of on the pronunciation of Nanjing. At that time, the pronunciation in a lot of ways was very similar to modern Mandarin, but a couple of sounds were different, like ging instead of jing. And if you write that down, especially if you're a French person, which is where this spelling comes from, you might write Beijing. Of course, English speakers today see those sounds, and we aspirate the P and the K, even though back then they weren't aspirated. It should be Beijing, and instead we say Peking. Now we'll look at Qingdao. There's a very famous brand of beer that's spelled T-S-I-N-G-T-A-O, and a lot of Americans have no idea how to pronounce this, so a lot of people say Tsingtao. This also reflects that older spelling, but it's a little bit more complicated because it should be T-S apostrophe or T-S-H, because the pronunciation back at that time was Qingdao. Finally, Xiaogang is Hong Kong in English. And if you know Cantonese, you might know that it's Hong, which is really close to Hong Kong. But the Hong and the Hong are pretty different sounds, right? Hong Kong actually comes from a local dialect before there was a standard Cantonese. At that time, it was pronounced Hong Kong, and that's really similar to Hong Kong. What are some other interesting foreign spellings of Chinese city names you've seen before? Let me know in the comments.